Newsweek, China arbitrarily detained 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities, Labor Department report finds. A new report from the Department of Labor found that China has arbitrarily detained more than 1 million Uyghurs, a predominantly Muslim ethnic minority in the East Asian nation, as well as other Muslim minorities, forced or coerced many to do work against their will. So it's a forced labor camp and re-education camp. It's a concentration camp. This is why I call them the Chinese quote-unquote Communist Party, because really they're actually a Nazi hierarchy because they allow private property ownership. They have hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside, and they have millions of Uyghur Muslims and other Muslims in concentration forced labor re-education camps. And they are trying to be the world's #1 superpower. And they are nationalists. So by every single definition, they are National Socialists. They are nationalists. They are socialists. They allow private property ownership. They got concentration camps. They got a dictator. And the dictator looks almost just like Winnie the Pooh. Xi Jinping. He has very thin skin. He does not like it when you bring up how much he looks like Winnie the Pooh. And they banned Winnie the Pooh from China. And now they got that national security law where that's extraterritorial, which means they can enforce it if you're in America and you break it. Where if you encourage people in Hong Kong, Taiwan to commit sedition against mainland China, to overthrow the Chinese Nazi Party, to bring democracy to the people of Asia, then you will be in violation of the Chinese national security law, and you can have a warrant issued for your arrest in China for saying that Hong Kong should overthrow the Chinese Nazi Party. I think that is a threat to our safety. They're doing all that stuff in the South China Sea, trying to expand. It's like a power grab. And right now, the Chinese Nazi Party is very weak. They're very divided. They got people actively speaking out, saying that the communist people thing is just a front because these people are very capitalist. They like money a lot. And but then they have this funny money from the communists. So how it works in China, they got a whole bunch of poor people out in the country. Then they have the Communist Party, or the quote-unquote Communist Party bosses, who are just really corrupt, like insanely corrupt. These are like the most corrupt politicians you're going to be able to come across. Everything is a payoff to them. Everything is like an exchange, giving them something. And then they control the labor in the community because they're still quote-unquote communists, which basically means they're like slaves. They got filthy, stinking rich Chinese in the countries, and people own private property in other countries, like in America and around, like manufacturing capabilities around the world. So these people aren't communists at all. It's all a front. It's they got some weird, funky hybrid system that closely mirrors National Socialism. Definitely, they're definitely socialists. Allow private property ownership. If the government wants to come and take your business, commandeer it, they'll take it. They'll take a portion of your earnings, like any other government would. Reading on in the article, quote, it's estimated that 100,000 Uyghurs and other ethnic minority ex-detainees in China may be working in conditions of forced labor until or following detention in re-education camps. Too many more rural poor workers also may experience coercion without detention. China has been included in the list of goods produced by child labor and forced labor since 2009. The report published Tuesday morning said. As a result, Department of Labor added 5 additional goods to the list of items believed to be produced by Muslim minorities in China through forced labor. These items include textiles, hair products, thread, tomato products, and gloves. Where's Black Lives Matter? Stick up for these people. They're out rioting. You got people in like the Europe and United Kingdom, even Australia, out protesting police brutality in America. In a country they don't live in, they don't vote here, they don't know anybody here, they don't have any business here. It's not their government. Like, we have a right to have brutal police if we want. If we have a problem with people getting high on drugs and robbing people and killing people, gang banging, getting really drunk and causing scenes, getting in fights with people, getting arrested, and then they get shot by a cop, it's like, that's their fault. That's not the police's fault. And then they're trying to protest all over the country to change laws here, and like none of them, they don't know anything about it. And then where are they at with these Uyghur Muslims? Like, where are they at? None of them, I bet none of them have ever said anything. I've ran a bunch of stories about Uyghur Muslims. I've probably done more to help the Uyghur Muslims than like 99.999% of people just by running the stories that I do and exposing the Chinese Nazi Party. Mass majority of people just don't care that there's cell phone in their pockets made by slave labor in China. They don't care. They don't care that the police in China are incredibly brutal and they crack down on people, and they're really cracking down in Hong Kong and in Taiwan on dissidents. And they're expanding in the South China Seas. And they have that extraterritorial national security law where they can issue a warrant out for your arrest for encouraging Hong Kong to overthrow the Chinese Nazi Party, which is just insane. And they actively are brutalizing people. People disappear. And like, crickets are chirping from the left. Nobody cares. The actual real brutality, they just turn a blind eye to. They don't care. They're getting a cheap product out of it. They don't care. All they care is that they got the product for less money, that they save some money. That's my biggest gripe with the black looter mob, aside from the fact that they're rioting and looting, is the fact that they're right and they're murdering. They just completely they suck all of the oxygen out of the room in order to everybody focus on them, as because it's their social media moment. They're coming up in their protest. They got the cool pictures for their Facebook. They got to be the event organizer or the medic or the fake Antifa press. So it's all about me, me, me. You got to look at people through that lens, because people are like that. People are like me, 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 me. There's a lot of narcissists out there, like a lot of them. People are on different levels of narcissists. Some of them are malignant narcissists. Some of them are the bad kind. Some of them are just people who work too much and then they're obsessed with themselves, and then they're trying to be the popular, cool, hippie-ish dude with a cool job that still likes to go out to the parties. And they're trying to get people to like them, but they work all the time and they're isolated. And then whenever they are around other people, they don't know how to talk about things outside of their bubble. And so it makes them self-centered narcissists because that's all they can talk about is themselves. They can't think about outside of themselves. They can't like empathize with other people. And then they're out there with the white feminist, with these Democrat race riots, burning down our cities, killing black business owners, destroying communities, so that they can like go, what? I don't know. I'm still kind of confused as to what exactly they're doing. I'm kind of confused. Can anybody tell me down below, like, what exactly is BLM trying to do? Are they trying to change local laws or federal laws? Is it because most Democrats live in big cities? Like, are they trying to like change federal laws? Or are they trying to push for like something the president does? Is the president supposed to do this? Because this has all been around getting Biden in office. It's all been anti-Trump protests. Like, you know, like the most of these big cities are run by Democrats. So like, who are they protesting? Like, are they protesting Republicans? Or are they protesting Democrats? I don't know. But they won't say a word about the Uyghur Muslims. They don't say anything about them. That's because it's all about themselves. It's all a me. It's all they're disguising their own self-interest in that their protest, thinking that, oh, well, we're just trying to help black lives. But in the reality of it is most of them are white feminists, which is a racist form of feminism where they put white women's issues above everyone else's. And they will, because they hate the white man so much, because they believe in this critical race theory garbage where they say the white people are bad because of the sins of their ancestors, because that 6% of white people own slaves, and then up to 95% of American Indians died off. So they say we like took the land because nobody lived there. They didn't have a government. And so they were nomads. And apparently we took the land from the nomads by immigrating here when they didn't have a government. And then we brought government to them. And so they're really, all their efforts is concerned in targeting the racist white man. And it's because most of these people are Democrats in big Democrat-run cities where they're at the bottom of the social hierarchy. And most of the city's controlled by Democrats. So if you want to rise up the social hierarchy, it has to be through the Democrats who have more money. Most Republicans live in rural states. They're poorer states. So they blame racism for why they're at the bottom of the social hierarchy, because they can't, the people running the Democratic Party can't say the people in the businesses won't hire you because your grades suck. You didn't try hard in school. You did too many drugs, partied too much. You've got too many baby mamas. And that's why you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, or you made bad investments in life. They have to tell you it's the racist white man because it's a scapegoat tactic for them to scapegoat the blame for their own failed policies. And they're all up in bed with China. So a lot of these Democrats are actually, they work with, get investments with Chinese, quote unquote, Communist Party controlled businesses. In China, it's still quote unquote communist. It's not really communist. It's insanely corrupt, where the Chinese Communist Party just controls everything and pocket all the money. They do all these shady backroom deals, and they've been paying off our people. So when they say America first, what this is meaning is America has not become first anymore. For example, with Hollywood, the movies in Hollywood make a lot more money in China. So a lot of movies, they don't really try to suit the American market, because if they didn't restrict the free speech, then they would not be able to sell the movie in China. And they make vastly more money in China. And in China, they pirate movies. So this doesn't make sense if you know anything about Chinese pirating. You're like, wait a minute, I thought Chinese pirated everything. Like, yeah, they're communists, remember? They like the government pays them a bunch of money for this thing so they could have the movie. And so what this does is it opens up a route for them to do what is called cultural Marxism. It's a very detestable practice started by the Chinese after World War II when the women's suffrage movement, all the women voted for communism. It was the same thing in the USSR. When in Nazi Germany, the women voted for fascism. And then in China, they voted for communism. They overthrew the government with communism, did this cultural de-evolution where they took out their cultural institutions like the Buddhist and Taoist monasteries and temples. And they made the culture of the Chinese Communist Party. And it's because they said that Marxism did not fail in World War II and in the Soviet Union, that it was the culture that failed. So they had to eliminate the culture. Hence the term cultural Marxism. And it's based off of the Marxist concept of dialectic materialism. Dialectic materialism is a class struggle between the people at the bottom of the social hierarchy, the poor people, and the bourgeoisie, people who are living that good life. And then they're supposedly not worthy of having this good life. And so that's why they attack them. It's a detestable belief through and through. It's responsible for about 60 million deaths in China. And more deaths during that period of time in the USSR, during that period of time when the socialists from the big city went through the capital, the countryside, which was mostly capitalist, and they killed people in order to force the people out in the country to not be capitalists. And it was brutal, definitely was a stain on our history, one of the most savage, brutal things that has ever happened in the history of mankind. This is the kind of stuff that the Democrats have been in bed with because they think that it's just the only people that are bad out there are the racist white man, that the minorities are completely innocent. Like back when the whites were colonizing the world, the colonialism days, that somehow the poor people and the minorities, that they weren't equally as brutally savage as the conquerors. This is insane. This is insane. They're like thinking that a bunch of people lived out in the sticks with no electricity, who hunted and stuff, that all of these people weren't as equally savage as the conquistadors. Like, dude, where the hell are the conquistadors getting their slaves from? Right? The West Africa slave trade? That's where like they were importing these slaves from, and then the conquistadors went conquered Central and South America. Okay, so how are these people any worse than the Aztecs? They're not. But people think that it's just white people. White people are the only people who've harmed anyone, that like black people are just completely innocent. Like it wasn't Africans that were pushing to keep the slave trade legal, and because they were making lots of money kidnapping other Africans, right? Yeah, like those people treated those people any better than the white people treated these people, right? Everybody around the world owned slaves at this time, but people think it's just the white people. And then people will just jump right in bed with China. Like they think, they're like, oh, I'm a leftist. These people are communist. I like communism. So therefore, we are totally okay with working with the Chinese Communist Party. And then these Chinese Communist Party people are the worst. They're so corrupt. Like these people just reek of corruption. When you look at them, you can just see the funny money popping out of their pockets from all the backroom deals. Dude, they are like the classic Chinese Communist Party figureheads, the older dudes. Like they just have this look about them that is so insanely ingrained corrupt. You can really visually see that this person is a corrupt person. So I would like to see the black looter mob stick up for brown bodies too, over here in countries where they're getting exploited, where they're in concentration camps, these re-education camps, because it would be nice if they would stop sucking all of the oxygen out of the air for some criminal in the big city who got killed by cops when he was doing some crime. I really just, I just want you to stop doing the crime. I'm definitely not liking the defund the police thing. What else is there on this story? I think that's it. If you like this content, please don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications for when I go live.